We are going to start our international webinar with some verses from the Holy Quran.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس.
Now, we are going to start our international webinar. Dear participants, Department of Economics feeling privileged to co-organize this international webinar. I honor the occasion. I, on behalf of the entire department, extend a very warm welcome to our international guest speaker, Dr. Tasif Asad. He is a professor of economics, Departments of Finance and Economics, College of Business Administration, Taiba University, Medina Munawwara, Kingdom of
Sorry,
Saudi.
sorry, I am from Qasim University. No, I moved from Taba to Qasim University.
Sir, Kasif University? Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Qasim.
Kasim. Okay, thank you, sir. Our second international guest speaker is Sulman Ilhaji Dauda from the Department of Economics and Development Studies, Federal University, Washer, Nigeria. Our first national speaker is Professor Dr. Imran Sharif Chaudhry. He is Dean Faculty of Social Sciences and Director School of Economics, Bahauddin Zikriya University, Multan. And our second national speaker is Professor Dr. Babar Aziz. He is Chairperson, Department of Economics, Government College University, Lahore. We feel exceptionally honored to have such a talented and respectable person with us today. Without your presence, this event couldn't be possible. Next, our praiseworthy guest, we have Professor Farzana Akram, Registrar and Dean Faculty of Sciences. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Pakistan is among us the 180
Thank you.
plus countries dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. There are some clear warnings of a global economic recession as workers continue to fall sick, factories remain shut, and healthcare system becomes overwhelmed. Mitigating the health emergency and the extent of economic loss will not be easy for Pakistan. The country of over 200 million is already going through a macroeconomic stabilization and ranks below the world average on most human development indicators. While the poverty rate declined by 40% over the last two decades to 24.3% in 2015, the IMF projects a sharp reversal with up to 40% of Pakistanis living below the poverty line in COVID-19's viral wave. Real GDP growth is expected to slow by 3% with downturns in services and manufacturing. Agriculture will also lag if lockdowns continue and disrupt needed transportation, logistical support, labor, and access to inputs for the next planting session. And those most at risk include people already living below the poverty line, women, children, people with disabilities, the elderly, and other marginalized groups whose lives, livelihoods, nutrition, and access to basic services are least secure. Now, we are going to begin the session of our international webinar. I request Professor Dr. Tasif Azhar to enlighten our participants with his precious knowledge. Sir, please.
Uh, uh, How much time? You know,
Sir, maybe
I,
15 to 20 minutes, sir, please.
inshallah. Uh, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Uh, Basically, COVID-19 is a still is a very difficult topic to say something because still that is going on and everywhere. Most of the countries they are facing a number of issues related to COVID-19, especially before whenever there is any issue we are saying that developing countries, but now developed countries are also involved in that, and they are we are but we are saying infected, even countries are infected, not the individuals, the countries are infected. COVID-19 has shut down businesses and plunged the economy into a condition not seen since the Great Depression. After Great Depression, we are facing a very difficult era of the history. Throughout the pandemic, public health experts have emphasized the necessity of social distancing and stay-at-home rules in order to flatten the infection curve and bring down the number of hospitalizations and fatalities. Still, what we can do? Nothing is in our hands. So just social distancing, stay at home, and we have to flatten down the infection. But even with these directives, the pandemic's effect on government, businesses, and the general public have been dramatic in terms of public health, the economy, the governance, and social well-being. This is the basic introduction which we have for the, not me, everyone has for the COVID-19. If you will see the one of the book, which is written by Collier and Kay, Paul Collier and John Kay, what they are saying, greed is dead. This is a question mark. What we have, if you will see historically, uh, the situation of the whole world, is it developing or the developed countries. What was that? The mistake with the establishment made internationally was in the 1990s and 2000s when it was all going well, when we thought we would really sorted out a marvelous new world. We didn't know quite what to do about the at least 50% of the population from whom this meant their living standards didn't rise. Jobs they would be proud of were given up for ones that are a way of earning a living, paying the bills in practical day-to-day terms. We have made a bit of a cock-up of it. For decades, living standards grew very painfully slowly for many, if not most, of our fellow citizens. Meanwhile, those at the top flourished. The tectonic plates of our society slowly pulled apart. If pressed, we resorted the language of human capital along with the need of upskilling and lifelong learning. This is this is the situation which we have in the past decades. Our problem runs deeper than hubris and complacency. The cause of our current malaise is, as they see it, a half century of extreme individualism. That is the issue which I want to discuss. That is the individualism in economics everywhere. What we are saying, a consumer, producer, firm, and every economic agent is selfish, and we have a just to follow the individualism. If I am satisfied, then there is no harm. Not we are not thinking about the society, a long and damaging departure from the communitarism and or to shape human societies. So our society is just based on the individualism. And when there is individualism, then you can see that, yeah, if I'm becoming satisfied, what can I do? It is unclear how far the disease of individualism. So what I'm saying, this is the disease, not the COVID-19 is a disease. The disease is individualism has spread. We live in societies saturated in selfishness. not the COVID-19. COVID-19 is the byproduct of that, which indicates a widespread inaction. But in general, the elite individualism is the main problem. The actual disease behind COVID-19 is that I have mentioned. What about the Paris Agreement? When we are talking about the sustainability, so what is the uh, Paris Agreement? What about the Sustainable Agenda 2030? It is not possible to achieve the targets because of our greediness, our selfishness, our individualism. So when the COVID-19 pandemic erupted, some countries were reasonably well prepared to meet the challenge, but the most were not. Why we are not? Because we are involved in the, we are infected by the disease of individualism. And what is happening? Our targets are the profit, our targets are the income, but not the target of to cure the people. Most of the countries, even US, even UK, even Italy, even China, they, they, their health system is becoming collapsed. They have a huge structure of infrastructure. They have huge infrastructure, but unfortunately, they are not able to. They are really not able to co-op with the health system. So much of their capacity to produce drugs and protective equipment had been outsourced to China, which restricted exports during its own pandemic. They failed to develop the testing systems, nor had they worked out a clear division of responsibilities between the federal government and the states and cities, or between the public and private sectors. Many of their public institutions were unprepared as well. Years of underfunding and personal cutbacks had weakened their public health infrastructure at every level of government. A global community struggle with the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic. It is becoming increasingly important to debate the moral and ethical decisions that are being taken. But we are claiming that the majority of the world's nations, including underdeveloped economies, have improved their health and education system in recent years. We are claiming that. If you will see the reports of the international organization, everywhere it's written, we have improved our underdeveloped system, that is the health and education. However, the evident what is that? That is the development developing countries for the current crisis has led to the widespread spread collapse of health systems that have been exposed to being extremely fragile. National governments and multilateral organizations such as the WHO are struggling to understand the virus and provide a clear plan on how to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. The enormity of the crisis has left governments and international organizations alike unable to steer a clear path for the future. The number of studies, and we have examined the role of qualitative economic variables such as per capita income in achieving the sustainable government development goals without integrating vital socio-economic variables from the health sector. There are a number of research studies and the reports that among just one, two, three countries aspiring to reach the target, only seven are on track to meet all four relevant SDG targets, namely access to clean water, access to sanitation, undernourishment, and primary school completion rates. Current literature found that the majority of countries are seriously off track in their attempts to achieve the sustainable development goals because they ignore the health-related life sustaining variables that are essential in fighting the global pandemic. The global pandemic threat accentuates the essential need for training in the moral aspects that play a vital role in confronting the prevalent global socio-economic and ethical inequalities and are integral to achieving the sustainable development goals. If you are coming to the sustainable development goals, we have three things. The one is people, what we are saying, the triple bottom lines, and if the triple bottom lines are three: people, planet, and prosperity or the profit. The ranking should be like that. The first preference should be given to the people. The second should be given to the planet, and the third is should be given to the profit, prosperity. But unfortunately, what we did, we have taken the first as a prosperity, then planet, and then people. And now the situation is in front of us. Hence, policymakers, economic analysts, health experts, and academics are frequently raising questions related to the SDGs. For example, what do we need to change in our current world? What actions are needed in order to make these changes? How can recognize the necessary transformation? What measures are needed to eradicate social justice and prejudice from our world? The United Nations Environment Program, if you see the report they have published in 2017, underlined that the world's climate is continuing to heat up at a faster pace even after the signing of the Paris Climate Agreement. Most of the literature argued that the world can achieve some of the sustainable development goals such as undernourishment, malnutrition, increased smallholder productivity, sustainable agriculture, and biodiversity through the application of the right technologies, suitable resource finance, proper incentives, and cross-border cooperation mechanisms. But majority studies, what they said, they fail to discuss the role of non-market variables that play a prominent role in the deterioration of ordinary people's lifestyle, health, and daily economic. So, what we are saying, if you see the Hayek, the Nobel Prize holder, in 1976, he has written a lot on it that market variables are the market phenomenon is more important than the non-market forces. The problem is non-market forces are playing a very important role in our life. Whenever we have a crisis, the non-market forces are working. When the people are getting the more importance than the profit. But unfortunately, most of the countries, not most, all of the countries, they are following this agenda. The profit is more important than the people. If you will see, where are the more moral values? Now the people are saying, if you are drinking alcohol, then your immunity is becoming low. Why we are spending on armaments? Most of the countries, most of the budget on the armaments, not on the health sector, not on the education sector. We are not able to educate the people. So it is therefore crucial to question the role of moral and ethical values in achieving the sustainable development goals. Why I'm saying always sustainable development goals? Because in the sustainable development goals, the first thing is the health of the people. What about the public? What about the individuals? We argue that without addressing the moral deficit, it will be extremely challenging to meet the targets of the sustainable development goals. And the other thing is, these moral values, they are not be achievable. They are not be materialized if behind these moral values, religion is not there. Religious norms provide the needed moral foundations that have a significant positive effect on protecting both the people and the environment, and thereby can help in realize the aim of the sustainable development goals, consequently increasing the welfare of the society. Because this health is a part of the sustainable development goal. Because if people are not healthy, how can we get the sustainable development goals? And when we are saying that triple bottom line, three things is people, three P's: people, planet, and prosperity or the profit. When we are coming towards religion, religion is giving us five P's: participation and partnership. Without participation and the partnership among the individuals and among the countries, we are not able to rid of this type of COVID-19 and so on. So religion and the moral philosophies are becoming an integral part of the economy. It should be. Otherwise, we have to see that what we have been learned now from the COVID-19. we have to redefine the system. We are not able to redefine the system. And if I am not wrong, among all these things, Islamic economics is giving us a very beautiful way to live, the structure of the model which we have for the economics. So we have to follow the Quran and Sunnah. Islamic economists argue that Islam is a universal religion and promotes a value-based economy. Without value-based economy, and the value which is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we cannot uh, uh, achieve our targets. The foundation of Islamic economics is its all-inclusive approach that increases the welfare of the individuals in a society and indeed the whole universe. Under Islamic economics, religious injunctions support the well-being of the entire human race and in the environment through the tenets of the peace and justice. As I told you before that, when someone is taking alcohol, so his immunity is becoming low. If we are not spending on the health, we are spending on the armaments, then how can we say that we are working for the people and these economies are the welfare state? Like UK is a welfare state, and most of the European economies, they are welfare, based on the welfare. But where is the welfare? All the health system has been collapsed. Their education system has been collapsed. Under Islamic economy, religious injunctions support the well-being of the entire economy, human race, and the environment through the tenets of peace and justice, material comfort, and social welfare are equally essential in Islamic economics. Preference-wise, the first priority is all human life, followed by the environment, and thirdly, economic benefit. Under a traditional economic system, worldly accomplishments shows the success of an individual or market. Supporters of a market like Hayek argue that individuals, even when they are opportunistically, make an overall contribution to the welfare of the economy and its society. The presence of self-interest does not limit the benefit to the society. This is their claim, but we have been seeing that now in the COVID-19. What will be the result? Accordingly, an increase in the number of exchange goods will deliver higher welfare level. This is their claim. But where is that now? Which provides benefits that are more substantial to the society. In this manner, material prosperity enhances the welfare of society. As a result, higher economic transactions increase social, psychological, and human capital, which eventually helps both the growth of an economy and the well-being of the society. This is their claim. But where is their claim now? Whenever there is a problem, either financial crisis or the health crisis and whatever the crisis, everything is becoming collapse. If you see 2007, the financial crisis, everything has been collapsed. But that was not as we have in the COVID-19. The COVID-19, nothing is in our hands. Everything is empty. Markets are empty. Businesses are empty. Education institutions are empty. If we want to give the distance learning, there is no comparison face-to-face learning and the distance learning. On the other hand, value-based societies focus on building an exchange environment that creates trust, love, hope, faith, courage, temperance, and justice. So these are the things which we need during the COVID-19. Conventional economics sidesteps which issues and fails to emphasize the role of religious and the moral dimensions in economic transaction and the critical role of the moral economy. Actually, what we want to do, we have to create the moral economy. We have to create the moral capital. We have to create the moral markets. Without moral markets, without moral economy, without the moral capital, we will not be able to get the results which we want. There is a consensus among the supporters of moral economy that religion is the primary source of the moral values. Without religion, you will see all of the religion. When I studied the Buddhism, when I studied the Judaism, Christianity, or the Hinduism, our new book is coming on moral foundation of the sustainable development. So we have discussed the different religions. So the basic norms are common in each and every religion. The moral values, the values. A value-based economy increases the level of cooperation among the members of its society. In such a moral economy, most economic exchange, whether with strangers or unknown individuals, rely on value-based characteristics such as honesty, trust, reliability, generosity, brotherhood, justice, and fairness. Even in moderately regulated market, the presence of moral behavior is a necessary condition for all kinds of economic exchange. Then again, I'm coming back to the Islamic economics. Islamic economics postulate that human beings are more valuable than worldly assets because moral values play a more significant role in the evolution of the welfare of society. Orthodox economics focuses primarily on market concepts such as value, price, and economic exchange. Such a contrast between the philosophy behind conventional Islamic economics raises several vital questions. Again, I have said that I'm just talking about the Islamic economics, but if you will see the moral and the religious economics, all of the religions, they have the same common moral values. So there are a number of questions which I'm putting in front of all of you. Does traditional economics miss essential elements in analyzing market functions? How is it possible for an individual to become better off and at the same time make others better off during the change process? Is the price mechanism one of the necessary foundations of orthodox economics compatible with the Islamic or the religious economics? So these are the questions which we have in front of us. Does the free market help in responding to pandemic? The COVID-19 pandemic has proved that poorly regulated markets cannot effectively support sustainable development. So the market is not a necessary condition for the development of the countries. It has been proved that some products which are highly profitable but a cause of decreasing the human immunity and dangerous for human health. As I discussed before, for example, the production and consumption of intoxicating goods such as alcohol generate considerable profit but harm human health as they reduce the effectiveness of the immune system. And we have been seeing that everywhere. The medical experts are saying, don't take, don't drink alcohol because your immunity is growing down. But from the market point of view, it is very profitable. Similarly, many products produced by multinational food corporations, as we have seen that in most of the news and everywhere, what we are saying that these products which are producing by the multinational corporation produced harmful effects on the human bodies, such as obesity, that results in these things. What we have been observed, these are not good for the human health. Otherwise, on the other hand, they are earning a lot of profit. Likewise, the global armament industry is having a hazardous impact on the peace and security of our world. Arms manufacturing firms reap phenomenal economic benefits at the cost of human life. Global military expenditures has increased by 75% in the last 25 years. In the year 2018 alone, China and the US spent 14% and 36% respectively of their GDP on military expenditures, which were 5.8% and 45.3% of GDP respectively a decade earlier. Instead of these countries can spend this amount for the development of the health sector. So if you will see that how much they are spending, America, US is spending 45.3% of GDP on the armaments, on their military expenditures are like this. So instead of spending on the health sector, they are spending on the defense because they want to earn the profit. In contrast, the annual budget, you will see this in the next just a few minutes. The annual World Health Organization reports in 2019 the global health expenditure grew in real terms by only 3.9%. You can see that how much. Hence, it is hard to believe that the current value neutral market approach can play any decisive role in achieving the targets which we have in sustainable development and the agenda of 2030 and the health of the people. The current order of preference established in the global marketplace is economic profit as the priority, followed by the environment, and finally by the people. Such market preferences completely ignore the socio-moral dimension that is essential for achieving the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit or prosperity. So the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting all human aspects. The world's economy is facing uh, bottomless crisis, and all economies are in downturn. Nevertheless, the strict lockdown lowered economic activities, which is having a significant positive effect on the Earth's environment. So only one benefit which we can get, that is the Earth environment, is because our activities are not friendly towards the Earth environment. So because the time is short, and I have a number of things which I have to say. Unfortunately, I cannot say. Thank you, Hina. Thank you, every participant, and Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
वॉइस कम खत्म कर दूं,
Assalamu
म्यूट कर दूं,
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you
वॉइस
very
म्यूट
much,
करो.
sir. Thank you very much for this valuable discussion and discussed about the moral values and the that we are not achieving the sustainable goals due to the poor health of the people, and also tells us about the economic, and moral values, ethical values. Also, you relate these with the economic conditions of the different countries during the COVID-19 situation. Thank you very much, sir, for this valuable discussion. Now, I request our guest speaker, Salman Haji Dauda, to share your knowledge. Sir, please.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum
Walaikum.
Yeah. Uh,
Welcome, brother.
yeah, I would like to highlight on the reasons that led to the advent of COVID-19. My name is Suleiman Alhaji Dauda. I'm from Nigeria, Federal University, Gashua, Yobe State, northeastern Nigeria. And my university is a fairly young university. If you browse, you can see how we are faring. So I would like to highlight on the antecedent that will bring about the COVID-19. Actually, the world wasn't prepared, neither is the world anticipating the advent of the COVID-19 when it started. And it has taken the whole world unaware, with many people thinking like it is going to be a sort of Armageddon or something like that, that will wipe away humanity. So many countries in the world started trying to see how they are going to confront the epidemics, the pandemic. So it started from Wuhan, China. There is no need for any long history about it. And when it came, it upset all the economy of the countries in the world, particularly the developed economy. It started from China. It went to it created a lot of problem in Iran, Italy, US, with a lot of death toll. So, having seen that, and Nigeria and Pakistan are sharing almost many things in common in terms of population, in terms of the composition of the population, that is age structure of the population, in terms of economy, in terms of foreign relationship, and in terms of internal relationship. So actually, Pakistan experience of COVID-19 actually started as early as 2019, according to literature I was able to lay my hand on. Pakistan have reached out International Monetary Fund for bailout package, which is worth 6 billion USD before the pandemic, so that it will stimulate the economy and revitalize the economy. That was before the pandemic. But suddenly the pandemic came, and Pakistan also went and recently requested 1.39 billion from IMF under the Rapid Financing Instrument Facility to cushion the economic shocks caused by COVID-19 outbreak. Just like what the professor said right now, he said, since after 1930 Great Depression, the world have never had a very serious shock in the economy that brought about, a lot of concern and have crippled both the strong economy and the developing economy. So the effect of the Pakistan, the effect of the economy of the Pakistan of the COVID-19 on the economy of Pakistan is that it was envisaged that the economy would shrink by about 15 million US dollar and 10% decline on its GDP. Some figure put it to 3.5% of its GDP will decline, will shrink. And at the end of the fourth quarter of the financial or fiscal year 2020, there will be decline in the GDP of the Pakistan. The effect of the pandemic was expected to shrink the Pakistan economy. However, global value chain will be interrupted, or it was interrupted already, because some countries depend on the UK, US, China, particularly, Pakistan and many developing countries depend on China for their raw materials and byproducts in order to improve their economy or to produce more goods and services. And that affected, it was interrupted. As such, many countries many companies or many production concerns start shrinking or contracting their manufacturing or production. The World Health Organization also have required immediate relief to the Pakistan. It was envisaged that over 2.4 million of Pakistani population now suffer from input insecurity. This is the situation during the COVID-19, and the foreign reserve of Pakistan has fallen, and the value of the currency of Pakistan will be affected in the nearest future. So during the pandemic, the weak exchange rate of the Pakistan, compared to the US dollar, have depreciated woefully. It further weakened the government ability to service the foreign debt. These are the instances. Foreign reserves stood as meager 13.2 billion US dollar at the end of the March 2020, which is not enough to cover 3.5 months of imports. To cover the new budget deficit, because there is budget, it is envisaged that there will be budget deficit in the Pakistan economy. In order to cover it, the government will have to borrow at least 3 billion rupees, which is equivalent to 18.1 billion USD from the commercial banks in form of 3 months to 20 years treasury and sovereign bonds, according to the State Bank of Pakistan. That is the Central Bank of Pakistan. Also, the State Bank of Pakistan said that there will be 66% or 1.98 trillion rupee will be needed in order to retire the maturing domestic debt. So these are all as a result of the COVID-19, and it is an instances of which it has to be taken care of. The COVID-related implications of trade and industry are still not fully evaluated, because it is too early to evaluate the effect of COVID-19 on trade and industry, because there is no data at hand. For the simple fact that the COVID or the pandemic era have not yet finished. Even in the pre-pandemic scenario before December 2019, Pakistan economy was not doing well. Global recession, monetary distress, and high interest rate. So now we are going to look at the Pakistan role to the world economy first, COVID-19. It was said by the World Bank that Pakistan growth must be driven by investment and productivity, which will put an end to the boom and bust cycle that affects the economy every few years. It is entirely possible for the economy to transform its regulatory environment and reduce the cost of doing business, because cost of doing business determines the extent of which people will fare and the extent of which small and medium scale industries, whether formal sector or informal sector, will be able to harness their resources in order to bolster the economy forward. So over the adjustment period and beyond, there is need to protect the poor and vulnerable through social safety nets and safeguarding the public spending on health and education. So according to the World Bank, Pakistan have to do a lot in safeguarding the health and education of the people by taking care of the vulnerable in the society. Just as the professor said, there is 3 things in the sustainability goal, that is people, planet, and profit. So Pakistan have to feel fearful before the West. That is, there is contention during this COVID-19. Many people are thinking that, do we put health first before the wealth, or do we put wealth first before the health? In the real sense, health is the paramount. Even some country that think, okay, let us now allow the older people to die for COVID-19 so that we can save the much younger people. This one didn't work. They have to come back and look at humanity. Pakistan is endowed with many natural resources, from its vast water and river endowment, its coastline and city, to natural resources, and growing middle class, and large number of labor force. And Pakistan must continue to address several long-standing issues, including expanding investment in education, healthcare, sanitation, adapting to the effect of climate change and natural disasters, and improving the country business environment. And at the same time, it has to widen the country's tax base, because the revenue realization in the economy is what gives the country an opportunity to improve the economy. So Pakistan should equally have to develop the energy sector and attract foreign direct investment to support sufficient economic growth necessary to employ its growing and rapidly urbanizing population. So my suggestion on how Pakistan will fare well, just like Nigeria, Pakistan is dependent on imported consumer goods and services. But we can be able to produce those goods and services, locally. So we have to strengthen our production capacity to make our countries more responsive to the needs and aspirations of the people. And similarly, Pakistan is battling with high cost of governance and high-profile corruption, just like Nigeria. So such practice have a negative effect on the economy and affects credibility of our financial and governments. Our financial institutions are often not creditworthy because of the high-profile corruption or whatsoever. Pakistan, as a matter of fact, or as a matter of necessity, need to encourage and invest in online business, because what I was made to realize is most of the countries in Europe, Southeast Asia, US, survived pandemic through online businesses. So because of the limited human contact, online business saved the economy from collapse. So, and the online business had to do with access to internet, consistent and persistent power supply, and ease of doing business. So therefore, in order to strengthen, because we don't know what next may happen, So therefore, we have to be proactive since we have already seized COVID-19. So what else may happen? We don't know. So therefore, we have to be proactive. We have to envisage, we have to look into the future. Pakistan, dependent on orthodox primary production, cannot, like on mining, agriculture, textile, and apparel industry, need improvement and more funding and attraction of more direct, foreign direct investment. We have to reinvigorate the industry so that it will be, the Pakistan will be export promotion, not, export promotion. And we have to substitute our import by producing locally produced goods and services. Foreign direct investment and foreign remittance should be attracted and encouraged. Pakistan experts in diaspora should be encouraged to invest their remittance in the area of commerce, transportation, aviation, and manufacturing industry. By so doing, we can be able to, because most substantial part of the remittance come directly to individual family. So we have to invest such remittance in the area of commerce, in the area of transportation, aviation, and manufacturing. And both the two countries, Nigeria and Pakistan, share the same thing. They have to share partnership and cooperation of bilateral agreement between this country and all other countries based on mutual benefit. You should only deal with any country if you can benefit from that country. So in an instances where you are paying some countries what you are not going to benefit, you are just throwing away the baby with the bathwater, and it is not going to benefit the economy. Whatsoever reason from political point of view, it may make sense, but in economic point of view, such practice have to stop. It has to be mutual benefit before anything else. There is need to advocate for debt servicing rescheduling from the debtor nations, because this COVID-19 has affected the schedule of countries like Pakistan to service the debt they have collected from debtor nations. So therefore, there is a need to call on the debtor nation for the debt reschedulement and to avoid accumulation of non-serviceable loans, which is likely to accumulate because of the non-functional economy, because the economy has already gotten crippled. So these are some of the points I find worthy of sharing, and I think and I believe it can be of benefit to our listeners. In case there is any other question or there is any need for clarification, I think the organizers can allow it to either happen now or later. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the opportunity given to me. Thank you so much.
Jazakumullah khair, mashallah. We enjoyed your arguments and your whatever you have said. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you, brother.
Mashallah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Sir, you explained about the economy of Pakistan and as well as the economy of Nigeria. And surely the economies are shrinking and declining during COVID-19 as well as GDP. And all the economy is disturbing during this COVID-19. And definitely online business now flourishing during COVID-19. And FDI, transportation, manufacturing, agriculture. These are the important sectors of the economy. So thank you very much for a knowledgeable, valuable discussion with our participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our guest speaker, Professor Dr. Babar Aziz, to share your views with us.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Dr. Hina, for inviting me on this forum and to share my views on this important issue. So I acknowledge the efforts of Women University Multan, and thanks are due to the Vice Chancellor head of the department and the dean and registrar as well for providing support to make this symposium a success. So I have a brief request that I request all the participants to mute their mics so that we can have a distortion-free environment. And if someone have any questions, so he or she can put that question in writing and let the host decide to pick and ask that question. So I'll not present all.
So there's
Sir,
a
please,
problem.
sir, please unmute your mic, please, sir. Sir Babar, please.
Sorry. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, yes, sir. No,
All right. So I have to repeat all the sentences which I spoke earlier. So thank you, Dr. Hina, for inviting me on this forum and to share my views on this important issue. I acknowledge the efforts of Women University Multan, and thanks are due to the Vice Chancellor, the head of the department, registrar, and the dean for providing necessary support to make this symposium a success. So I have a request to all the participants that it would be great help on their end if they can put their mics on mute so that we can have a distortion-free environment. And if someone have any question, he or she can write that question and let the host decide to pick the question and pose it to the panelists. So I'll not present the numbers about the masses, the people who are affected from this COVID-19, because much is there on the internet and the media, and we all are aware about those numbers. So, well, the topic is about the post-COVID scenario and the reconfiguring role of Pakistan in the world economy. And much has already been shared by the respected Professor Dr. Tawseef Izzat and Professor Dr. Suleiman, and that left a very minor space for me to comment or share my views. So, Dr. Tawseef has very rightly mentioned the need to redefine the system, to redefine the moral and ethical values, and that should be taken care of. And further, he stressed on the social development goals, which should be focused. And likewise, Professor Suleiman stressed on the education and health should be focused, and the governance and corruption should be taken care of so that the financial institutions can prosper in a proper way. So having said this, from the comments of the worthy panelists, I need to mention then that whenever there is a crisis, then there is an opportunity as well. And we all know that the world after COVID-19 is unlikely to return to the world that was. So we all must admit this fact. So many trends already underway in the global economy are being accelerated by the impact of this pandemic. This is especially true of the digital economy, that with the rise of digital behavior such as remote working and learning, telemedicine, and delivery services, other structural changes may also accelerate, including regionalization of supply chains and further explosion of cross-border data flows. The future of work has arrived faster along with this challenge. So this was a challenge, and there is an opportunity as well. So the future of work has arrived faster along with these challenges, and many of them potentially multiplied, such as income polarization, workers' vulnerability, more gig work, and the need of workers to adapt to occupational transitions. So this acceleration is the result not only of technological advances, but also of new considerations for health and safety. Economies and labor market will take time to recover and will likely emerge with this changed environment. So a couple of weeks back, I had a chance to go through a UN study which recommends 5 work streams to address the situation, and those are globally relevant and so relevant for the Pakistan as well. And this has been observed that Pakistan has picked few to work on, keeping in mind this pandemic situation. And those strategies, those recommendations are making essential health services available to those in need and protecting health systems. We all observe that the health facilities in the developing countries as well as in the developed countries, so they shattered. The second is that helping people to cope through social protections and ensuring basic services and food security to the people, protecting jobs, supporting small and medium-sized enterprises, and guiding a badly needed surge in fiscal and financial stimuli, and strengthening multilateral and regional responses, and promoting social cohesion and investing in community-led resilience and response systems. So these are further a few work streams which the UN stressed on, and Pakistan has picked 2 or 3 out of them. So now the question is, the question which I need to pose to myself and to the participants as well, that what are the biggest sources of economic pain for Pakistan's economy because of this COVID-19 lockdown? So the few observations are the mass unemployment and sharp reduction in domestic consumption and exports. So these few points, these few outcomes adds to the miseries of an already fragile economy, where demand was being compressed over the last 2 years by raising interest rates and depreciation. So we all witnessed that since last 2 years, the different policies of the government, they add to the miseries of the people. So now the question is that what options the government have, or what steps they have exercised. So the government tried to raise domestic demand by injecting cash and enhancing the economic activity through the Ehsaas Emergency Cash Program. So that program gives 12 million vulnerable families cash to spur consumption while sustaining themselves through the lockdown. So opening up the construction sector or engaging in large public works programs are also ways to create mass employment while raising domestic demand. However, this is a time for bold ideas and big infrastructure programs that takes time to get off the ground. For instance, the informal economy is hurting, and it is important to get cash into that system. And a quick way to get cash into the informal economy is to engage in small level public works at the district level. So that component is missing in the present government. So this could be channelized, this could be channeled through the existing mechanism which used to give the public representatives who are MNAs and MPAs some development expenditure for their constituencies. So the fund could be used to build local roads, plant trees, etc., and enable unemployed labor to find work. So this is the greatest challenge in Pakistan during this lockdown, that many of the labor workers, they are deprived from the opportunities of being paid being paid work. So it could be one strategy. So this is localized policy recommendation, even though the ruling party has opposed channelizing principle because of patronage, effectiveness, challenge the good governance and corruption. So if we can rule this out with transparency and effectiveness, this could be an important tool in the government COVID-19 response as a tool. So other goal for recovery should be a full employment and a new social contract. Like Dr. Tosif mentioned, that there is a lack of that we all are moving towards individualism. So there is a need for new social contract. Public investment in the care economy, education, and low carbon infrastructure can form a backbone of stimulus that reduce inequality. Wage policy, collective bargaining, and labor market regulations can revive demand and income while putting an end to the business model that allows companies to take no responsibility for their workers. So having said this, I must mention that realities of this crisis have triggered reconsideration of several beliefs, as Dr. Tosif Saab mentioned, with possible effects on long-term choices for the economy and society. Over the past 2 decades, in advanced economies, we have witnessed that responsibility has generally shifted from institutions to individuals. And there is a potential for a long-term shift in how institutions support people and how people support people, that is through love and care. And so there is a potential for long-term shift in how institutions support people through safety nets and a more inclusive social contracts. So there is a need to redefine the system, to redefine the social contracts. And as history has shown, that choices made during crisis can shape the world for decades to come. So what will remain critical is the need for collective action to build economies that deliver inclusive economic growth, prosperity, and safety for all of us. Thank you very much, Dr. Hina. Dr.
Thank
Hina, can you
you.
hear me?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
thank you. Thank you very much, sir. That a lot of information about the COVID-19 and economic situation. Thank you very much, sir. Now, actually, we have our national speaker, Professor Dr. Imran Sharif Chaudhry. I think he is busy in his meeting, and inshallah, he will join us within a few minutes. Now I request our chairperson, Mrs. Shehnaz Gul, to express her views on this international webinar. Mrs. Shehnaz Gul, please. Assalamualaikum, Ms. Shehnaz, please, are you hearing?
Thank you, Hina. You are listening me?
Shehnaz ji, I am listening to you. I think that Professor Dr. Imran Sharif Chaudhry, Dean Faculty of Social Sciences and Director School of Economics, has joined us. Please, sir, please enlighten your views on this international webinar. Professor Dr. Imran Sharif Chaudhry.
Thank you, Hina. I'm thankful for your university, your Vice Chancellor, and I also welcome to the foreign and external experts on the topic of post-COVID-19 world. And I'm sorry I couldn't listen anyone because I was busy in my meeting officially, and I quit now just a moment before. And anyhow. We can start here with the presentation. If you say that we can start with, so if I have only minutes of 5, so then I can go with your with simple conversation. But if you say that there are 10 to 15 minutes, then I can go with my presentation. Okay. The topic is very wonderful that how we can, what is the scenario and what will be the scenario. So when there would be the post-COVID-19 world. So looking at the scenario, so we can, I will start my presentation with the simple contents that, so what is the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in Pakistan? So I think the earlier discussants have highlighted the main issues. And secondly, it is very much important that what is the state of the Pakistan economy at the moment. So what are the indicators and how these indicators have been affected due to the COVID-19. So the COVID-19 pandemic and Pakistan's economy. And similarly, the next points or contents will be the economic challenges, the impact on the economy, Pakistan's response, protecting businesses. So that would be discussed here. And the last one would be a policy framework for the mitigating the impact of COVID-19. So let me start with the first thing, that what happened in Pakistan during the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in Pakistan. So you know that it was started in China in December 2019, and afterward it covered all the world, including America, Europe, Australia, Asia, including Pakistan. So the risk of this and the effects of this COVID-19. So the World Bank organization WHO declared COVID-19 outbreak as a sixth public health of emergency services, and it is the one of the biggest pandemic in the world. So of 2020. The first case of COVID-19 has been confirmed by the Ministry of Health, the Government of Pakistan, on February 26. So just I'm giving you the brief history that how it reached to Pakistan and what were the effects and consequences. Then within the 15 days, the number of total confirmed cases of COVID-19 reached to 20 out of 471 suspected cases. So this is a very small history, and you know that all the confirmed cases were having travel history initially from Iran, Syria, and from some of them from London. So if you look at the present situation, so of the COVID-19 that was taken from 15 July to 13 August 2020, if we look at here that 285,921 confirmed cases were reported in Pakistan during this period, and at the moment, so on the 13th August there was the active cases 16,599. So now at the moment that has come down to at least less than the 1,000. So it means that gradually in Pakistan the outbreak is coming down. The outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic is coming down, and hopefully the government is thinking about the opening of some of educational institutions in the September, and similarly the government is also thinking about opening up some of the other industries, and they have already taken the decision that should be opened. So I think so now we need to look at that what is happening in Pakistan's economy. So if you look at some state of economy of Pakistan, so look at the data. So most everybody know that what are the major indicators of Pakistan's state of the economy. Population is right. So evident from here, it is increasing with the passage of time from 2015 to 2019. So I think so time is very short if we go for next slide, because state of economy, I think everyone knows. So due to this COVID-19 pandemic, Pakistan's economy that was shrinked. So not only in terms of contribution, but also in terms of the growth rate. So the three growth rates except agriculture sector. So the growth rate was come down to into the negative, and the unemployment in the daily paid workers were highest among the other unemployed workers. So manufacturing and services sector also are in the crisis, and they were really affected due to the lockdown policy of the government. So the price hikes due to the supply chain management issues, because there was a lockdown, and you know that because of all that there was the high rate of prices. So the business activities were slashed due to the So due to this lockdown, and again the tourism activity, so that was also closed down. So these were the uh, sectors which were addressed due to this pandemic 19. So if you look at the other economic factors, the fiscal, this COVID-19 created a fiscal imbalance. So due to the fiscal deficit, high deficit, because the income was shutting down, but the government expenditures were high. So that created the fiscal imbalance. So another, as I have said earlier, that there was a low tax revenue that was collected by the government. So because there was no economic activities and businesses were shut down, so due to that reason there was a low tax rate. External debt, so due to the exchange rate fluctuation, there was a high external rate of a high external debt. Foreign exchange rate issue was, again, that has nothing to do with all that COVID-19, but that emerged in Pakistan economy as an issue. So the fluctuation in export and import, that definitely it was spread over the world. So there was the breakdown in the exports and imports. So the movement, shipping, everything was stopped. So that due to that reason, there was the fluctuation in the export and imports. So if we look at that, some estimation that were given by State Bank of Pakistan that the GDP, though they have revised the GDP estimation that was downward growth rate to 3% from earlier estimate 3.5 for the fiscal year 2020, but I fear that it could not be met, even that it cannot sustain the 3% in the next coming years. So the Asian Development Bank has also lowered its projected growth rate 2.6 from estimated 2.9 due to this COVID-19. The World Bank has also revised its downward trend for the Pakistan economy to 1.1%. So I think that looks more realistic as compared to the other estimates. So an initial loss of Pakistani 2.5 trillion, around $15 billion. So that was estimated during this pandemic lockdown and pandemic outbreak, after the outbreak. So between 12.3 to 18.5 million layoffs were observed. Similarly, if you look at some sectors, currently 55 million people are living below the poverty line, and that has increased from 55 to 120 million people that may come under the poverty trap. So this is what, again, more than 50%. So unemployment rate, so about 20 billion workers will lose their job due to this pandemic situation. So another estimate from the World Development Indicators. So the labor force is 75, but in fact most of them have been unemployed. So the tax revenue collection has lowered down, as I have already mentioned. The figure is here. So the remittances, except the last few weeks, so the Pakistan has observed there is a decline in the remittances. But for lucky, so there was an increase in the foreign remittances in the last 2 weeks. So that were observed highest as ever in the history of Pakistan economy. And this is only the one sector which is very less affected in Pakistan, the agriculture sector. So due to some lockdown, there was some gap between the supply chain management for the agriculture sector that was happened. And due to the logistic blockage, so there was some problem in the agriculture sector. But overall, there was no impact on the agriculture sector because the most of the cases that were observed in the urban areas, but few were in the rural areas, but that was naturally covered by the different policies of the government. So similarly, some other policies that were observed in the Pakistan economy. So I think so, due to the very short of time, we can go for the next. So this is what the thing that what the Pakistan get some benefits due to this COVID-19. So IMF, under its rapid financing instrument scheme, approved a loan of $1.4 billion for Pakistan, and Pakistan is also expecting to receive around 1.5 billion relief in the form of delay in the repayment of loans to the bilateral creditors. Similarly, some benefits that were given. So to the demand, sale of the following industries has significantly risen during the COVID period. Pharmaceutical, detergent industry, personal care products, sanitizers, medical equipment, so online businesses. So they they eventually, so just like similarly as these were increased in their sale were increased in the world, so similar trend has been observed in Pakistan. So if we look at further, so what was the Pakistan response towards this COVID-19? Pakistan basically reserved the money 1.13 trillion. That becomes the $6.76 billion. That was basically reserved for the rescue and the stimulus package. So an amount of Pakistani rupees 50 billion, that becomes the 298 million rupees dollars has been set aside to purchase the medical equipment. So using the technology to create the awareness. So the government has taken many steps to address this this COVID-19 pandemic. And so in addition to that, apart from all that, the government has also planned give some reliefs to the small scale industries. They have given the relief to some small scale and medium scale industries to pay their utility bills, and they have given some relief to the closed down the industry, the medium and small industries due to the lockdown policy of the government. So they have given some relief. So this is what the relief is given to the utility store for the common people. So a sum of Pakistani rupees 50 billion, $298.94 million that has been earmarked for the government-run utility stores to ensure the availability of the food items and the grocery items for the necessities to the people. So there was no restriction that who can buy or who cannot buy. So that was open for everyone. So Pakistani rupees 280 billion that has been allocated to ensure the wheat farmers do not face cash flows and smooth wheat procurement. So provide an emergency cash transfer of rupees 12,000 rupees. So as compared to the 15th, but as compared to the previous year, so the number of receiving deserving people of the households were increased. So that due to that reason, so they have emergency. The government has transferred rupees 15,000 to a household. So on emergency basis to just for those people who were engaged in the informal sector and they have lost the job due to the this lockdown. So the government has also given some stimulus package, contains a whole range of fiscal measures. So the tax breaks, financial support via utilities, fuel, transport subsidies, concessions, tax refunds. So to exports and to protect the exporters and the business persons. So this was done at the macro level. So looking at this protecting businesses, the government has also announced a separate package of Pakistan rupees 100 billion. So that becomes $600 million just for the SMEs, as I have already told you. So similarly, the few part was concerned with the non-agricultural employment. So the State Bank has also announced a temporary economic refinance facility to fuel now investment. So they have lowered down the markup, and the State Bank also reduced the interest rate to 9% from 14 and gradually coming down to the 9%. And even I think so if the State Bank goes for the further reduction in the interest rate, definitely that would have some consequences on the monetary side, but eventually there would be a more incentive for the investment in Pakistan. And as far as the protecting businesses that have been reported here, so the import duties have been waived off on 16 medical products. So this is a list of the businesses where the government has provided has protected in terms of giving them the relief in different terms. So that is given here. So now I'm coming to one, that the smart lockdown strategy in Pakistan. That was the successful story of the present government. So they have opened up all the economies and lockdown, but they have emphasized on the smart lockdown. The smart lockdown mainly is focusing the balance between the lives and the livelihood, because there was the major issue of day-to-day workers. They were unemployed due to the lockdown, and the government has decided to go to lockdown only that area which is the mostly affected due to this COVID-19, and they have decided to provide the basic necessities to that area, and but all other the country, they have opened up to start basically the economic activities and the economic simply the economic activities and procedures. So as the country witnessed a steep decline in COVID-19 patient due to the smart lockdown. So this was appreciated worldwide, the strategy of smart lockdown. So as far as policy is concerned, as the world is mitigating the impact of COVID-19 crisis, similar policy the Pakistan is initiating, so that they have target outcomes here. So the first is that to cover the human suffering and flattening the recession curve, to flattening the backward tendencies of the curve, and similarly all they will come from through the health social protection. So these are the policy instruments, and to address the target outcomes, there will be a monetary policy that we have discussed earlier. So the government is also planning a policy to cover the fiscal deficit that has been observed during this COVID-19. So financial and regulatory policies that are very much important to run the country and to run and to observe the macroeconomic condition of the country as the world is making. So I think so these are the same policy instruments that have been observed and that have been emphasized worldwide, and the similar policies are here, but as compared to the geographic conditions and the on-ground conditions, so any country can change the contents of these policies, but overall policy instruments would be the same. Since Pakistan's economy does not depend largely on the export sector, so it can be recovered speedily through the demand pull policy, through tools like expansionary monetary and fiscal policy. Maximum aid may be utilized to upgrade the health system. So this is what an disguised blessing for Pakistan, that due to this COVID-19, so the government can be able to upgrade their health facilities, and even that now this pandemic has given a awareness to the common people that how we can protect from some viruses and from some other health issues. So the awareness has increased worldwide, and similarly in Pakistan as well. So similarly, so I would also suggest here that because of this COVID-19, so the whole world has been affected, and definitely in future. So on the one side where the people are working in the vaccine, so similarly we have to also work to recover the economies. And immediately the worldwide, so we have to expand our economic activities, and we have to make sure that so all of the people, whether they are living in any country, they have to contribute towards the economic activities, so that the deficit of the previous 5-6 months can be recovered, and even that the growth rate now should go more than 3-4-5%, so that the economy can be put on the track. So with these words, I'm thankful to Dr. Hina and the Vice Chancellor of the university for giving this opportunity to all of us to be together to hear on this forum. And I do hope that this activity would be continued in the future. And I am all particularly thankful to our foreign experts, Professor Dr. Tawseef Saab and another honorable professor. I'm thankful to all of you, and Professor Dr. Babar Aziz, who shared his views from the Government College University Lahore. I'm thankful to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, that you gave us the time from your meeting and also delivered a very information about the COVID-19 situation, and as well as the economic situation of the Pakistan and the whole world. And also discussed with us about how the physical imbalance and low income tax revenue, and also discussed that the external debt is increasing day by day during this situation, and also discussed with the foreign exchange rate issues and fluctuation in import and export of business conditions, and also discussed the strategy and policy making steps adopted by the Pakistan government to reduce this situation and to reduce the poverty and the standard, to improve the standard living of the people. Thank you very much, sir, and definitely our participants have learned how I invite to Mrs. Shahnaz Gul, Chairperson, Department of Economics, to discuss. Shahnaz,
Thank
please.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Hinali, you are listening me? You are
Yeah, of
listening
course.
me?
Ji.
Yes, yes, yes.
We are listening.
Assalamu alaikum, all of you. I feel great pleasure to arrange this international webinar post COVID-19 world reconfiguring Pakistan's role in the world economy by Economics Department and especially Dr. Hinali arranged it. I am heartily thankful of worthy Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Azma Qureshi. She joined us, and Professor Farzana Akram, Registrar, the Women University Multan, and national and international speakers. First of all, Professor Dr. Alhaj Suleiman from Nigeria, Professor Dr. Tawseef from KSA, Professor Dr. Imran Sharif Chaudhary from Bahauddin Zikri University Multan, and Professor Dr. Babar Aziz from Lahore, GC Lahore. All are the legend of economic field. I feel very encouragement of their presence in this webinar and gave us pride of their company, great ideas and fruitful discussion in this event today. Pakistan economy, no doubt, in this are very dispersed at this time. Agriculture sector, industrial sector, especially GDP growth rate, employment level, investment level, BOT, BOP, and so, all are in very poor condition. Not only due to COVID-19, but also there are so many reasons. So the reforms agenda has been discussed in this webinar very effectively. So my concluding wish and pray to Allah that खुदा करे मेरी अर्ज़ से पाक पे उतरे, खुदा करे मेरी अर्ज़ से पाक पर उतरे, वो फसल गुल जिससे अंदेशाए ज़वाल ना हो. Thanks once again all of you for your presence, precious time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Shahnaz. We are extremely privileged to have our worthy Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Usma Qureshi. She did her PhD in Education Management and Planning for Birmingham University, UK. Postdoctorate from Cambridge University on the topic of higher education and gender equity. She has provided her with distinguishable services to Lahore College for Women University since December 2010 and also served as Vice Chancellor of Lahore College for Women University. She has extensive experience in administrative positions in public and private universities in Pakistan. She did her specialization in gender equity and higher education. Therefore, she is well versed in problem solving related to women empowerment and running complex educational institutions. Moreover, she has got a wide experience of working for the development of formal academic parameters in higher education with HEC. Professor Dr. Usman Qureshi is the fountainhead of knowledge and the person who believes in action, not just in words. Her focus has always been on the quality of honest research, integrity, and consistent hard work, which are the key principles of men's life. She is a visionary woman whose achievements have inspired all of us. Ma'am, we feel exceptionally honored to have you with us today. I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor to address the participants.
Can I continue, ma'am?
Yes, please continue. Thank you.
Okay. But at the end of this webinar, I get almost all the answers that Dr. Imran told us that the government is making some policies for the small and medium enterprises, that they are receiving some bills. They are receiving some reliefs in bills and some other reliefs also. But now I have only one question, that in April 2020, as the federal government of Pakistan introduces ordinance to ban food hoarding by the traders due to COVID-19. But according to the current scenario, as the hoarding of important food items like sugar and wheat is on its peak, So this is creating a problem not only for the economy but for a person also. So my question is, what could be the remedial measures, or what could be the suggestion of our analyst for the government, that how this hoarding can be controlled, or how government can control the effects of this hoarding for a local person, as this hoarding is affecting our economy badly, hoarding food items especially.
Raima, you are asking this question to me?
Sir, anyone who would like to answer?
Okay, would you explain your last word, because due to the net connectivity, so I couldn't listen your words. So what is your question?
Sir, I'm asking about hoarding ordinance that was introduced in April 2020, that government banned all the traders of hoarding food items like food and wheat items or sugar items. But even nowadays, the hoarding is going to be increasing day by day, that the wheat prices are so high as compared to the prices in the season of wheat. So what are the impacts of these hoarding on our economy, and how the effects of this hoarding?
Okay. Raima, so your question is very good. So in the sense that, so it belongs to the market distortion. So you can, being a student of economics, we can imagine that if something is not coming to the market and it is being struck down by some mafia and by some people, definitely it would be out from the market, and that would cause rise to the price level of the wheat. And things the government should maintain. Government should maintain the price mechanism and the market mechanism, and the government should make sure that there should not be any disruption in the supply and the demand, so that the market can decide the price. And already you know that the much wheat has been preserved by the government, by the federal government and by the provincial governments. So there is no issue of the reservoirs relating to the wheat. But as far as price is concerned, you are true that the price is rising just because of the mafias and the hoarding, and definitely it would the impact on the economy. But if the government decides to interfere and to control that mafia, then definitely the price would come down, because so the government has the sole authority. So they have the reserves of the wheat, and they can control the price as they have decided. So definitely, so the government and the institution of the government, they have to make their own steps, and they have to make sure that there should not be any interruption to supply the wheat to the market for the flour and for some other manufacturing items in the food items.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Again, just a concluding remark that yes, the Pakistan economy is facing a double crisis. We are facing the crisis of COVID-19 and facing a crisis of struggling economy as well. So Alhamdulillah and Mashallah, my all questions are already answered. Thank you so much, sir.
Very much, Ms. Raima. Now, I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Usma Qureshi Saiba, to address the participants of this webinar with your valuable views. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Hina. I'm sorry, earlier there was some problem with the internet connection. I switched to the other phone to get in touch. I will begin with thanking you, first of all, for arranging such a good seminar, and very timely one as well. It is useful to our faculty and our students, and for us also in general, because we need to hear the experts to really gauge what is going on around us, especially in post-COVID scenario. Because with this, the question which Dr. Raima asked about food hoarding and then the price rise is something which is a problem of a common person also, and governments and experts need to come up with solutions to ensure that we have a safe future and we are not just affected by it adversely. And I would also like to acknowledge that the current policies which have been adopted by our government are very, very useful. Even a layperson like myself can understand that they're trying their best to overcome the economic and the social problems in the post-COVID scenario. And I congratulate you once again. And taking this opportunity, I also thank all the panelists who have joined us from different parts of the world and of our country. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom, sharing your ideas with us. It is very reassuring that we are in safe hands. The economists know what they need to do after this post COVID era. We know that academia is also aware of their responsibility, which is also a great thing to know and very reassuring. And having people from other parts of the world contributing in this webinar is another assurance that yes, we are together in it and we'll come out of it together, and we will come out with better solutions for the world, for a peaceful, better a world where there is no poverty, there is no slavery, there is less adversity when we talk about social and economic issues. And I am very grateful for their participation, and I hope that this the way our faculty is participating, our students also participate and make most of this opportunity to really understand the core issues related to post-COVID. Thank you so much, madam, once again. I congratulate you and I congratulate the Department of Economics for their effort and holding such a good session, which is useful for everyone. Thank you, and I take back leave. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I am extremely thankful for our worthy Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Usma Qureshi Sahiba, to be here with us and make this event successful by guiding us and make all this possible for all of us. Thank you, ma'am. And I'm also thankful to Professor Dr. Tosif Azad, our international speaker from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Professor Salman El Haji Dauda from Nigeria, Professor Dr. Imran Sharif Chaudhry from Bahauddin Zikra University, Multan, Pakistan, and Professor Dr. Babar Aziz from Lahore College, DC University, Lahore. Chairperson, Mrs. Shahnaz Gul, and all the respectable participants of international webinar for honoring us with their presence. Thank you again. Be Amanatullah.
Thank you. Thank you, Hina. Wish you all the best. Thank you, Professor Dr. Usma Qureshi Sahiba. Thank you, madam. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.